President Trump and Israeli PM Netanyahu met at the White House on the Gaza war. Trump promised something special in a new U.S. ceasefire plan. Proposal includes a phased ceasefire, hostage release, and halting Israeli airstrikes. Netanyahu raised reservations, especially on Palestinian Authority involvement and statehood. In Israel, hostage families demand a deal, while far-right ministers threaten to topple Netanyahu if Hamas isn't crushed. Regional mediators, Egypt, Qatar, UAE, are closely watching. Analysts say the likeliest outcome, a temporary ceasefire and hostage release. But risks remain high. Hi, welcome to our channel CTN. Let's see the report by reporter.
Tonight, a pivotal moment in Washington. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met at the White House in what could be a turning point for the war in Gaza. The U.S. president has promised, quote, something special. But Netanyahu arrived with serious reservations. For the next 15 minutes, we bring you in-depth coverage of what happened in today's talks, the pressures each leader faces, and what may come next. Our correspondents in Washington, Jerusalem, and Doha have been following this closely. President Trump welcomed Prime Minister Netanyahu to the White House earlier today, projecting confidence that his ceasefire plan is gaining traction. Just 24 hours before the meeting, Trump wrote on his social media platform, "All are on board for something special. First time ever. We will get it done." Inside the Oval Office, according to Reuters and CNN, Trump pressed Netanyahu to accept a new 21-point peace plan. That proposal includes a phased ceasefire, the release of all remaining hostages, a freeze on Israeli airstrikes, including in Qatar, and, longer term, a pathway to peaceful coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians. But Netanyahu made clear his concerns, particularly over a possible role for the Palestinian Authority in post-war Gaza, and the idea of eventual Palestinian statehood. These are red lines for many in his coalition. Here in Israel, Netanyahu faces pressure from all sides. Families of hostages are demanding an immediate deal. Over the weekend, they rallied in New York and Tel Aviv, accusing the Prime Minister of putting the war ahead of bringing loved ones home. On the other hand, far-right ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich have issued stark threats. If the war ends without the total defeat of Hamas, or if the Palestinian Authority is allowed into Gaza, they will bring down Netanyahu's government. This is the political tightrope the Prime Minister is walking. Satisfy Washington and the international community, or risk losing his coalition at home. In Doha, where Hamas maintains a political office, leaders insist they have not received any official new proposal. But a spokesman told CNN they remain ready to examine any plan seriously if it comes through their mediator brothers. Regional powers, Egypt, Qatar, and the UAE, are watching closely. According to the Associated Press, Washington briefed them last week on the details of the U.S. proposal. For Arab leaders, the priority is clear: stop the fighting, ease the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, and prevent regional escalation. At the United Nations just days ago, Netanyahu lashed out at countries that recognized Palestinian statehood, calling it a shameful decision. Delegates walked out in protest. That speech underscored the deep divide. Internationally, Israel is under growing isolation. Domestically, Netanyahu still refuses to consider Palestinian statehood. That contradiction makes a breakthrough both urgent and very difficult. Let's talk about possible outcomes. Analysts say there are three scenarios on the table: a moderate ceasefire and phased hostage release. This is seen as the most likely path. Trump gets a deal to showcase, Netanyahu avoids collapse, and Hamas gains breathing room. A broader compromise, with large Israeli withdrawals. Experts rate this as less likely, given fierce opposition from Netanyahu's far-right allies. A breakdown of talks. If Netanyahu refuses, or Hamas resists, the war continues. with potentially even greater civilian tolls. So what should we expect in the next 2 to 4 weeks? If Netanyahu accepts the plan, we could see an immediate announcement of a ceasefire, followed by staged hostage releases and humanitarian aid flowing into Gaza. But that risks sparking a political crisis in Israel if his hard-right ministers resign. If Netanyahu rejects the plan, fighting in Gaza will intensify, international condemnation of Israel will grow, and Trump could face a diplomatic embarrassment just weeks before the U.S. election season heats up. If Hamas rejects the plan, Israel will continue its operations, and regional powers will struggle to contain the fallout. Most observers, including CNN and Reuters correspondents, suggest a temporary ceasefire framework is the likeliest outcome. But the road ahead is fragile, with plenty of chances for the deal to collapse. Tonight's White House meeting highlights the high stakes. A president seeking a historic foreign policy win, and a prime minister caught between global pressure and domestic survival. President Trump insists a deal is closer than ever, calling it something special. Netanyahu says nothing is final yet. And for the thousands trapped in Gaza, and the families of hostages still waiting, the next few days could prove decisive. We will stay on this story, with live updates from Washington, Jerusalem, and across the Middle East. For now, that's our special report. Thank you for watching. Subscribe my channel, CTN. Goodbye.